Now, Brick Hill is an interesting platform. More than likely, you've seen this video from me in the past week. It was supposed to be a teaser for this series, as I wanted to point out some of Brick Hill's recent problems and also to hint at the series in the first place. I made sure to encode a lot of the messages to not only get your attention, but also so that my messages weren't too obvious. Did you get them all? The title of this video is encoded in Rote 13, and decoding it, you'll get the title A Message for Space Builder. I've grown a lot in the Brick Hill content creation space, to the point where the owner of Brick Hill himself watches my content, so I knew that he was going to see that video. I'll explain more of the video as I move further along. In fact, one of the things that Space Builder wants me to do is to make a retrospective on one of my older videos called Let's Talk About Brick Hill. Well, Space, you wanted this, so here you go. This was the video I made a year ago, and it was my second Brick Hill video that garnered a lot of attention. This is the video where I voiced a lot of my critiques of the platform and made suggestions on how the platform could improve itself. Looking back on this video, I'll admit I did come off a little mean. But here's the thing, the reason why I came off that way is because I was annoyed at how the platform didn't see its potential and wasn't utilizing it. At the end of the teaser, I encoded a message in base 64. Decoding this, you'll get 3 different sentences. Focusing on the second sentence, it states history is repeating itself. In the beginning of my teaser, I included a lot of the notable critiques I said in my Let's Talk About Brick Hill video, because I noticed that a lot of the critiques that I've said about Brick Hill still apply to Brick Hill today. The player base for the platform is still virtually non-existent. The only time the player base actively plays is if Brick Hill hosts an event. People are abandoning their hopes for the new client because of the lack of progress. Nobody is going out of their way to develop games because nobody is playing. We are now hearing absolutely nothing from development. History is repeating itself. We are in the exact same situation that we run into a year ago. The 5 symbols that you see in the thumbnail are actually webdings, which translate to limbo. Brick Hill is pretty much in a limbo state right now because it just feels like we are in an intermission and dead zone of nothingness. But the thing is, it always wasn't this way. After I made my Let's Talk About Brick Hill video, Brick Hill and its community actually responded. Not just through words, but also through their actions. The next part of my teaser highlighted this. Notable community member Noah Coolboy started up a hosting service called Brick Hosting to temporarily address Brick Hill's lack of dedicated hosting. Progress finally seemed like it was being made on the new client. The current client got some optimizations. We got the Brick Hill beta workshop. Revisions were announced to the website. Brick Hill came out with its first merch. Brick Hill hosted a good Halloween event, especially considering this was during the time when Roblox had their infamous 3-day outage, which I made a video detailing. The fall of 2021 was honestly the most activity that I have ever seen come from Brick Hill, and it's something that I am proud of. I don't think if it were for my Let's Talk About Brick Hill video, I don't think we would have seen half of the things that happened in that time period. But there have been more advancements to the platform since. Noah Coolboy's Brick Hosting is no longer around, actually. And to be honest, I was kind of a hard ass when it came to how the whole service operated because I thought it was going to be a more permanent solution and not a temporary one. Noah told me himself that if Brick Hill ever managed to adopt an official solution to dedicated hosting, that he would cease his service entirely. And that is exactly what happened. If you have an active Brick Hill membership, you are given the option to use dedicated servers to host your sets. I didn't know about this for the longest time because it's not really spoken about. It's not listed as a perk on their membership page. The way that I had to find out if this was an actual feature is by contacting Space Builder directly to confirm that this is a real feature. This is very interesting because Brick Hill does still give you the option to self-host a set. Though if you do want the same competence as dedicated hosting, you will need to use a virtual private server or VPS for short. Let's quickly compare the difference with with using a VPS to using Brickhill's dedicated hosting. The price that you'll pay for a VPS will vary, but from my couple of minutes of research, the starting price for most VPS services is around $5 to $10 a month, and that's for a VPS with minimum specs. For just $6 a month, you could get yourself an Ace membership and unlock dedicated hosting. Brickhill's hosting is not only cheaper, but you could get more performance for your dollar. By signing up for a Brickhill membership, you get a ton more benefits on the website that's pretty much listed on the page. But most importantly, you are supporting the development and progress of Brickhill itself. That's especially important because development can be expensive and it doesn't come for free. Now, that isn't to say that there aren't merits in using a VPS. By using a VPS, you do have complete control over your game. Dedicated hosting gets you pretty close, but using a VPS gives you more control on how powerful your servers are and how many people it can support. In addition, it gives you a sense of independence, though it is not federated, as you will still have to abide by Brickhill's terms of service. In addition, if Brickhill experiences heavy traffic, like the Roblox outage for example, your set will still be up and running if Brickhill's servers get overloaded. I just hope that your VPS is powerful enough to sustain some workload if that ever does happen again. But at the end of the day, these are two very competent options, and Brickhill still offers the choice of allowing you to host the set by yourself, which I'm kind of glad about. I'm sure there will be more disparity between using self-hosting and dedicated hosting in the future, but the differences are already clear as day. I think dedicated hosting is going to benefit Brickhill a lot more. Now, I understand that some of you will be complaining and say, well, Roblox just offers this for free. Why would I want to pay money for dedicated hosting? I mean, this is a fair criticism to have, but I think there's a reason why this is the case. In the long term, I can imagine it playing out like this. Brickhill would eventually add a way for developers to make their own revenue from games similar to Roblox's developer exchange. But by paying for dedicated hosting, Brickhill doesn't make as much of a loss as Roblox would. And this get passed down by Brickhill allowing developers to have a bigger cut of the revenue. This is quite a controversial issue among developers in general, and Roblox seems to be the worst offender for this, as for every dollar that is made through a Roblox experience, only about 9 cents makes it back to the actual developer. Hey folks, VoiceOver Game Webcam here. So the screenshot I'm offering here says it is 17 cents. This is for People Make Games' video. Like they say in their video, it is really hard to determine the real amount of how much Roblox developers are actually getting. There are a ton of these hidden fees that aren't properly disclosed, so the number can be all over the place. It could be 17 cents, it could be 9 cents, but the main takeaway is that this is a very low number. This is taking into account the 75% cut from sales, but in the additional deflation considering that not every dollar counts from 100 Robux. If Brickhill can offer a bigger cut for the developer, this could entice more developers to come to the platform and introduce competition to the sandbox space. Going into the spring of 2022, Brickhill was still getting some notable changes. For the first time in a couple of years, Brickhill was going to host an egg hunt event, which I've made a video detailing about. The changes to the website in the fall were slowly being implemented, detailed in a blog post. However, there were some cracks in the foundation that were starting to form. Brickhill's beta workshop was starting to lack updates. I did a live stream where I tried making something in the new workshop, but I ended up running into issues and a lot of bugs while doing so. I made sure to point out a lot of these bugs in my teaser. At the time, I was okay with it because this was still an early beta and I expected a lot of these bugs to be fixed in the upcoming months. However, in the spring, the beta workshop was receiving almost no updates, and we're reaching the end of summer here, and not a single update has been made to the workshop. More importantly, we were promised that the new client was going to be released months after the workshop, but we're still not even close to arriving at that yet. This means that for any set that you make in this new workshop, nobody can play it because it's incompatible with the current client. At this point, the only purpose for the workshop just seems to be a beautified set builder, and that's not the main reason why people were paying for this workshop. People don't want to just make good looking sets. They want to make fully functional games that other people can play. Now, originally, the Player 2 client was anticipated to be released in the fall of 2021 with the Halloween event, but to be honest, this was a pretty tight deadline. However, even in the winter of 2021, it just seems like Escha, the developer behind the client, couldn't come to an agreement with Space Builder over proper payment and getting the client out at a reasonable time. The reason why I know about this is because of the Brickhill scandal that happened in April. I'm not going to describe it because I have 2 videos that detail it, and I'm not gonna lie, but I kind of regret making the first video. I honestly should have just waited until the response and made it all into one video, because most people who watched the first video didn't bother to watch the second video, where the allegations were properly addressed. This video is in the search results when people look up Brickhill. I mean, this is a scandal that definitely set Brickhill back. A lot more people actually stopped playing Brickhill because of this, and it kind of screwed over some of the more positive things like the egg hunt. Now, the only reason why I'm mentioning this is because in Space Builder's response, there is a link to an Imgur collection detailing some of his fights with Escha, and I can't help to think that I was the reason why this happened. That maybe if I didn't rush Brickhill, maybe we would have had the Player 2 client. Well, it doesn't matter. The past is the past. Escha no longer works at Brickhill, and I can't change any of that. This is where the teaser pretty much cuts off before I introduce the beginning shots to the series. The thing is, I asked Space Builder a year ago where he would see Brickhill a year from now. He didn't really give much of an answer, which is understandable, but he left off with a note that I should ask him again a year from now. Well, we're in August of 2022. That's why for a brief moment in the teaser, this text is shown. When decoding it through Road 13 again, it asks the question, do you remember? Do you remember when you said this? That I should remind you about this a year from now. What has happened over this past year has been very eventful, and I would love space to reflect on this publicly. Granted, I am making this video in advance, so if Space Builder has already made a response by the time this video comes out, I don't think I'll be able to include it unless I somehow manage to bend time and space. Now, in my Let's Talk About Brickhill video, I made suggestions that Brickhill could take to improve the platform. The main reason why this video and this entire mini-series exists is because of how well you guys responded to my first critique video. I promise you that if it weren't for that, Brickhill would be in a much worse position and this video would not exist. I want to see you all continue taking my feedback and take it seriously. Now, here's what I would do with Brickhill right now. First of all, there is no valid reason for people to continue purchasing the beta workshop. Who the hell is going to spend $25 for a workshop that makes sets that people can't play? Also, $25 is quite a hefty price for a glorified set builder. Space Builder, I know how much you want money, so you know what? Let me tell you how you can do that. Turn the beta workshop and client into a subscription and bundle it with the memberships. Not only are you going to offer the client and workshop at a cheaper price, but you are going to put more value into the memberships and give people a reason to buy a membership. Now, to ensure those who did pay the $25 don't get screwed over, consider the $25 purchase a perpetual license for the workshop and client, so people can keep it even if they don't have a membership. This is going to give users the choice of whether they want to spend less with a revocable license or spend more and own the software. Also, make sure you label sets that utilize the new client so people can finally share sets from the new workshop and make them public. Considering this client and workshop is an entire rewrite, you should not be scared of the fact that this is all going to be in beta and it's going to have bugs. After all, this does feel like an entire rebirth of the platform, but you need to make sure that you can accurately report bugs, you need to be able to reproduce them, and be able to fix them in a concise manner. Don't sweep bugs, especially ones that can crash the software under the rug. A stable client with less features is better than a feature-rich client full of bugs. Second, dedicated hosting. This is a feature that you've bundled with the membership, but the membership page mentions nothing about dedicated hosting. This is a feature that a lot of developers are going to want, so you need to start selling this. Describe the advantages of dedicated hosting and why it is worth having. You could use my reasoning or come up with your own, but you need to sell the out of this. When you click on a set in the games page, it should tell us whether a set is self-hosted or it uses dedicated hosting. Get people hooked onto the idea that this is a feature they need. For the people who decided to pay for the Royal tier over the Ace tier, guarantee them higher priority and stronger servers to justify the higher price tag. Both of these suggestions are going to sell memberships because all these benefits don't mean shit. By selling dedicated hosting and beta access with the membership, you are putting real benefits to the memberships. Hell, do both of these things and I will actually consider buying a membership even though I already own beta access. Third, give the website a little more personality. I like the functional improvements being made to the website. Don't get me wrong, they're great, but my God, the aesthetics are bland as I mean, as somebody who has seen Politoria's upcoming website, it looks like it has more personality than Brickhill's current website. I don't think the shop and avatar pages need to change other than some polishing, and the games page only needs some minor touch-ups, but the other pages are so rudimentary, especially the profile pages. I would love to see an overhaul of the profile and home pages. The profile page looks too derivative of Roblox, and I think there are several ways that the design could be improved. The homepage has some interesting concepts, but personally, I think the Friends tab needs to be below the blog post and something more vital should be below the profile instead. There should be a greater emphasis on playing with friends because after all, you have a lot more fun when you play with friends. Last but not least, be sure to keep following my advice from my previous video. You should still have transparency on development of the client. Don't be scared on making smaller and more iterative updates, even if it's something as simple as a few bug fixes. Cut out features that seem too ambitious and save them for later. I made those suggestions for a reason, and these are suggestions you should uphold and keep into consideration. By maintaining proper standards, this is going to convince people to take you more seriously. And if there's going to be people who will still constantly hate you regardless, you could just forget them. I want to end this with a message for Alex. Not Space Builder, not Salmon, but for Alex. This past year of Brickhill has definitely been an incredible experience. Out of all the sandboxes that I have seen in the past few years, you have been the only one that I have seen who's managed to make something viable. Even if Brickhill is nothing more than a passion project to you, what you and your brother have managed to accomplish is astonishing. And even though I have done an interview with you and spoken with you several times, I still feel like I don't really know you. And I'm hoping that is something that we can change. You have come so far in developing Brickhill, but you're not done. Far from it. You have provided a solid foundation for the platform, but this platform cannot continue unless you light the flame. With each and every little update, it feels like a spark, and it's just not enough. I don't want to see all of this effort you put into the platform go to waste. I don't expect Brickhill to become the next Roblox, but I would like to see the platform be able to fully sustain itself. Yes, it's going to take a bit, and you're going to need some help, but I need you to start making your way to light that flame. It is only by lighting the flame that Brickhill is going to take off and become an alternative for many. I honestly hope you take my advice because I do not want to make another video like this. But Alex, I hope you and the Brickhill community work together and light that flame. Go on and make me proud.